Hello, welcome to the channel, my DIY friends. Today we have a good opportunity to investigate or troubleshoot a malfunctioning kitchen range. So without ado, let's get into it. So to give you some background, a customer has asked me to investigate his malfunctioning kitchen range. All he has told me is that the left top burner is not getting hot, and no matter which position he puts the switches in, and the element indicator is always on. So let's get into troubleshooting that. I'll take a look at the diagrams. Okay, so we're looking at the wiring diagram here. It shows all the wiring details of the entire circuit here. It's probably not what we want to look for. If this is the only diagram you have coming on, usually all appliances come with them, you can still do it, but I recommend looking at the troubleshooting schematic where they simplify the entire circuit they draw everything without the wiring details. The wiring details are really complicated, and if you're not used to reading them, you can get lost very easily. But guys, the important thing here is to look at, it's just like looking at a map when you're going traveling. Find your point of reference. You must find your point of reference. You know there's things, but the customer's told you where the things don't seem to work. Find those on your diagram first. Find everything that you know about the range, things that you know. For example, switches, heating elements. Locate your things. Find your bearings first. So the first thing we're gonna look for is the biggest thing. Which burner is not working? Okay, so let's try to locate this on this diagram. Where is the left rear burner? Well, it's not the one see this one is not the one at the top. This is the right front. This one is the left front. Okay. Surface unit, maybe this one. Okay. And look at the other one, warming zone. No. Knowing a little bit about this oven, the warming zone is that heating element in the middle which keeps your food warm, but it doesn't really have the power to actually cook your meal, right? So it's not this one. So we can infer from this diagram that it's probably this one. Now there's only one of them here. You can question why. There's five separate burners on this machine, on this range, but there's only 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. So there's 2 of them here. So that's the 5th one. So we're looking at one of these 2. Okay, they just didn't want to draw another circuit which looks exactly the same. So just to save space on this page, right? So now we assume that it's this one. And pretty much it is. If you take a look at it, there's no other one it can be. So this is the circuit we're looking at. Now that we found our bearings, let's search what can be wrong. This diagram is a very simple diagram. Okay, if you look at the top, it says line 1, that's your power, and line 2, that's your return path. Okay, on all of these circuits. So the way this thing works is, the switch turns on, this is your knob, right? It turns on, and then the current gets fed through a temperature limit switch. This is how the stove regulates to not basically overheat itself, right? Like when you set the temperature to a certain temperature, why does it not just get hot? You keep getting hotter. Well, there's a thermal limit switch here. All right, it's either the protection switch, or maybe this actually regulates the temperature. I don't know, but it's just a switch here. It is part of the circuit element. Now it's the surface unit itself, right? This is a ceramic heating element. It's just a large resistor, and this is the back end of the switch, right? Connecting the return path back to the return on line 2. Yeah. So from here, all we need to do is basically, these are just very simple electrical elements. We just need to look at we just need to confirm that these are working the way they're supposed to be working according to this diagram. Now, Note down here at the bottom of this page, I'll scroll it down a bit for you to see. In the notes section, circuit shown with all controls set to off. So basically what that's saying is, when you're troubleshooting this, when this machine is all off, we're saying that these are the states that the switches and things are in. When it's off, you get no continuity between L1 and H1. So the system is off. This temperature switch, right, depending whether it's hot or cold, may be on or off. But we can assume that when you're troubleshooting, you wait till everything cools down. So this should be in the on position. The surface unit always connected together, right? So you always have connectivity. And the surface unit switch has the back end, which is connected to the for return, is also in the off position, right? Depending on, you see this arrow here, that indicates that's the knob's position. Okay, it's in a position when it's off that it's disconnected. So basically, we need to take a multimeter and check the connectivity between these points. Make sure when it's off, there's no connectivity. When it's off, there is connectivity, and no connectivity, right? So now is to find, now we need to find where these things are physically located. Remember, this is not a diagram, wiring diagram. It's just a simplified version of this diagram. So now there is one clue here. All right. The customer did indicate that the surface indicator is always on. So if you look at this, coming back here, each one of these switches, each one of the different knobs, if any one of them are on, this light will turn on, right? So while you can say there may be a malfunction in one of the switches, yes, that's true. But the question is how likely, right? All the other burners are working properly. They all cool up, they all heat up, and they all cool down when they're being controlled to do so. So I would say it's fairly unlikely that these other circuits are turning this surface indicator on. Okay, my guess when looking at this circuit is saying this switch has an issue, right? And so let's get into locating them. Okay, so you remember these L1, H1, 2A, 2-1, like 1A and H2, L2. Let's find them on the wiring diagram. Now it's important to find them because now you know how you need to know physically where they are. Otherwise you'd never find them on the actual machine just looking at it, right? So again, this is a new map. Find your bearings, right? Find your point of reference. This is your point of reference, the largest thing, left rear surface unit. This coil, right? The resistive heating element. If you look down here, you see all these terminal points that were on the logical diagram. You got H1, L1, H2, L2. Now what does this tell you? It tells you that the switch, this one unit is physically located, in one spot, and it has all of these H2, L2, H1, L1, and P all located on the same box, on the same unit, physically in the same location. That's what it tells me, right? And look at here, 1A, 2A, that is the thermal limit switch. Now, that's in a box all itself, separated from the left rear surface unit heater itself. But think about this one, right? Where would it be located? The temperature switch must be, or the temperature sensor must be close to the heating unit itself, right? Otherwise, how can it sense the temperature correctly, right? So that's how we can quickly identify where these things are physically and where we look. The two easiest things is the left rear surface, the burner, right? The burner is visible on the cooktop, right? And the knob that controls the switch, that turns this switch to control the burner is on the control panel. So that's where we gotta look. And to find this switch, this temperature switch, that's gotta be mounted maybe right beside the burner. So let's get into looking at where these things physically are. And let's get into troubleshooting with the multimeter. Before we get into the multimeter testing section, I'd just like to show you this diagram, this picture again. Look at the left rear element. Doesn't that look burned to you? Does that give us a new direction and a new clue as to what is going on here? Well, let's find out and let's prove this out together in the multimeter test. Unfortunately, I can't finish this video until the customer is available again. So please like and subscribe, and you'll be notified of when the new video, the continuation of the video is completed. Thank you and have a nice day.